The end of summer, although gradual, is a huge changing point in daily life. Sure, we're accustomed to it, but it affects everything, and one particular thing is the food we eat. Summer is full of fresh flavours, so grilled meats, juicy fruits and citrus, them lighter dishes that are designed to be filling but not too heavy. As the weather cools, however, we shift to heavier and warmer foods. They're more filling, they're better for the cold weather. And although I'm a summer person personally, but I love cooking real cosy, homely winter dishes. And one of my favourites is oxtail soup, which I'm going to make today. It's a fucking lively dish, but it's very slept on. People tend not to use oxtail, they're scared of it. It's just like beef though. And I've got everything here prepared. So my vegetables are onion, garlic, carrot and celery. Not too worried about dicing them finely, because we're going to strain this liquid out. Now if we're making something that we're not going to strain, I like to chop everything very finely. It just melts into the sauce, or unless we want the actual textural impact like an onion soup. But this is getting strained out, so I'm not too fussed about it. Roughly chopped, not the end of the world. I've got my oxtail, 5 pieces, 3 mediums and 2 small pieces. Should be perfect. It's going to soften up. We're going to shred it down anyway. I've got my green onions, which are going in at the end, spring onions. So we're not going to strain them out, but they are there for the textural impact. I've got my spice mix, which is cayenne, paprika, black pepper, and an onion and garlic seasoning, just for that extra little, I don't know, je ne sais quoi, let's say. Salt flakes, proper stuff, we like using that, it's good. Beef stock, I've got 500 mils of roughly. Olive oil to start us off, and tomato puree just as a little base. So let's get straight into it. So first I'm going in with some olive oil. Props to my sister for buying that while she was out in Greece. Then I'm going in with my oxtail, but I'm going to cold start it. We've got this huge sort of area of fat on the edges. It's starting to dry a little bit, but I still want to melt that down before it sears off. Otherwise we're going to lock that in and it's just going to be full of fat. So I'm going to cold start it. Heads down first. And doing that, it's going to melt all of this fat before it gets too hot and jopped. So we'll start with that, and then we're going to salt them. Good stuff, don't worry about it, a lot of it's going to burn off. As this comes up to heat, like I say, it's just going to melt these fat areas out. I did forget a few other things that I'll be using, such as my herbs and the butter. I am going to put some butter in. Once we've achieved that beautiful sear on the outside of the oxtail, we're going to go in with our vegetables. Going to lower the heat slightly and add these in. We want these to soften, we don't want them to caramelise or burn, so we'll just let them sit for 10-15 minutes. You can see by the steam that the vegetables are starting to soften, so I'm going to go in with soy sauce, 2 tablespoons, roughly. Get that in. Also going to go in with our spice mix. I'm also going to add a tablespoon of brown sugar and a generous amount of tomato paste. And we want to cook that tomato paste off for a couple of minutes, because otherwise you get this real bitter taste. If we cook it off, it's going to drop that flavour out and it's going to be sweeter. That in conjunction with the brown sugar and the soy sauce is just going to give it that nice balance of sweet to savoury, although this is a very savoury dish. Next I'm going in with my aromatics. I've got a bay leaf picked from outdoors, some lemon thyme also from outdoors, and a couple of sprigs of rosemary also from outdoors. Fresher the better, always good, and that's just going to add that next layer, that depth to this dish. So I'm going to put that in, and very shortly after I'm going to turn the heat back up and in with the red wine. Now people say buy cooking wine. Don't buy a red wine you're going to drink, because A, you can drink it, and B, you're getting that flavour profile, and it's so much fucking nicer than just cheap shit wine, you know what I mean? So straight in with that. Roughly a cup. A lot of guesswork here because we're not really fussed with doing it. Try a bit more for good fucking measure. And we're just going to burn the alcohol off that. So we want a good 4 minutes on high heat to burn the alcohol off, and just keep the flavour profile of the wine. So we'll do that first. Gonna let that sit, get everything mixed in nicely, make sure it's all coated and the tomato paste is breaking down as well in the same time. Once everything's nicely coated, as you can see, we're gonna go in with beef stock. We're braising this oxtail, so we don't necessarily need to cover it, but we will check it and keep it moving and stirring occasionally, perhaps even flipping them over, you know, and getting everything nicely coated. And we're gonna leave this for a good 3-4 hours. Like as soon as it starts falling off the bone, we're gonna take them out, shred them down, strain the liquid, and that's when the soup's gonna start really coming together as a soup. So we're gonna bring these up to the boil, turn them back down and leave them on a low simmer. Nothing more, but not much is gonna have changed now beyond the raw ingredient, but you can always give it a taste, always see where we're at. And that's good, it's good. A little bit of spice to it, if you're feeling frivolous, chuck a bit more soy sauce in. Another great thing about this dish is how versatile it is. The wine, don't worry too much about what wine you're using as far as the grape goes. So today, Chianti, as I've said, I've never made it with a Chianti before, but it's full-bodied or medium to full-bodied, and it works good in cooking. So we're giving it a go. We're going to see how it is. So it's 10 p.m. The oxtail still isn't soft enough. It's been in for 3 hours. I'm going to leave it overnight, not cooking. Obviously, I'm going to take it out, let it cool down, and then hopefully that it will rest and soften. And then when I add my potatoes in tomorrow for dinner, that'll give it another half hour, and everything else we add in. So it should be beautifully soft by then. And then we can shred it down and it's just going to come out perfect. But for tonight, I'm leaving it. Day 2 of oxtail. I've just got back from work. I've put this back on to warm up. I'm going to let that sit now for probably another hour or so just to soften up beautifully. I feel like I was being too hopeful with a half a day cook, so leaving it overnight, that's going to be the way forward. I'll finish it up tonight and we'll see the result. So I've given this a taste. It's good to taste as we go along. It's perfect, well, very nearly perfect. I just want to add a touch more sugar, just for that little sweet hint to it. Just give it a taste. Now the best thing you can do, taste as you go along, and that's much better. It's got that real balance now between sweet and savoury, you know. So I'm taking my oxtail out to rest for a couple of minutes before I shred it down, and then I'm going to strain the liquid out, and then we're going to go back in with the shredded oxtail, the strained liquid, and the little cube potatoes. So I've got my shredded meat and the strained out oxtail. You can see there's no, other than the lumps of meat that we shredded down, there isn't any lumps now of vegetables. I'm going to add in my potatoes, diced as finely as possible, without them being too small. Just going to add them in. I'm going to give that a mix through. Bring that sort of back up a little bit heat-wise if we want that to, you know, get hot. I'm also going to add my spring onions in. Just going to stir that through 20 minutes. Let them potatoes soften up, and hopefully the starch in them as well will thicken it up, so it's going to be much more soup consistency, and then we will serve up and eat. That is a fucking exceptional bowl of soup. This really is one of them warming dinners, you know, for the colder nights. Just rich, flavourful, warm, spicy. So look, go to your butchers, buy the local ingredients, you know. Cook it up, take the time to do it. Give yourself all day, give yourself the 4 hours, the 5 hours, the 2-day cooking time, and put something like this together, because it really is fucking exceptional.